Hi, and welcome to episode 225 at Mighty White's podcast. I'm Jack, as always, joined by Casey.
Now that.
Just for two of us this time. We can make it if we try. How's things, mate?
Not bad. Hectic Sunday. Crammed into 90 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome back to the Football League.
Yeah, I know that we say it all the time, but Leeds does just do stuff like that, doesn't it? We never have it simple.
Yeah, it's. I know we're coming off the back of Cardiff having a not great season and then a transfer embargo as well. And I can't be the only one who went into that game going, "This is Cardiff 1-0 written all over it."
Yeah, and there was a point where Cardiff 1-0 would have been better than we were actually doing. Now you look at that game, and if you could be sort of non-partisan about it, you would look at it and just go, Leeds were just a bit unlucky there. But the thing is, we do that so often that it isn't unlucky. I lost count of the number of times last season where we'd have a decent opening 20 minutes and then give away a just really soft goal. And then that's it. And we couldn't get back in it. And the difference is at this level, we maybe will be able to get back in it. But it was the exact same issue. Like, I mean, I looked at it like on paper before the game. I was looking at it and I went, right, Ayling, all right, he's dropped down the league, so probably all right. Strapp and Cooper have been really good through pre-season and they're both good players, and I really like Yelder. So that's one fine-looking defence. Why doesn't mine look like that? Why? Why must life be so hard? Why must we fail at every attempt at defending?
Has Sparkington nearly finished building his defence yet?
I think he's almost done. Ah! Yeah,
he's done. I believe the charging sound is Nat Phillips.
No, it's Pat Sauce.
That lad.
I haven't got that. If it was written down in front of me, I could have an attempt at saying it, but I haven't put it in the notes, so I don't know. Yeah. So going into the actual game, obviously I was at the game. Casey, you watched it in the pub, I believe.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I'll be checking with you the stuff that I couldn't really tell in the ground. So yeah, Leeds 2, Cardiff 2. Is it fair to say
that is true? You did see that bit.
Is it fair to say that we were literally barring about 3 minutes dominant throughout?
Yeah, we just. I think the main concern up and certainly probably through the first. Definitely the first half, certainly the first hour really was that we just weren't testing the keeper enough. I think the end of the first half, our shots on target were
2, I think.
Yeah, two on target. I think was one of them a Nonto effort.
No, there was Somerville shot from edge at box.
There's that, and there's the Pascal Strauch header straight to the keeper.
Yeah, those were
who as you have been saying for many a month now, he should be scoring a lot more headers.
Yeah, he's really good in the air. He should do more, but he's going to be the second receiver on corners soon. We'll probably say. We sort of got going a bit with the football at times. Probably the best bit was that Sinisterra ball out to Ayling, cushioned header for Nanto, half volley wide, which from the East End upper looked in the second he hit it. So if it was the full jump up, yeah, the full Shinsuke Nakamura, yow.
It was a nice little passage of play that, and I know the cynical part of you would call that a hopeful long ball out wide, but it was a really nice pass out to Ayling, and Ayling judged his header absolutely perfectly for Nonto to run onto.
Yeah, I want everyone to listen to that bit of praise for Luke Ayling and hold on to it.
Remember it; it's important.
Take it, son. Nurture it. Because basically, having been dominant throughout, but without creating enough, the Leedsness happened. They get ball. Callum O'Dowda makes a run from the left back area. Nonto's tucked slightly inside and does not even slightly notice him there. I believe, said pre-match that we want that Nonto, if we're going to play that 4, needs to be the 9 because he's the only one with no defensive awareness, and he just runs past. However, it's massively exacerbated by Luke Ayling has gone forward to mark a guy who's bordering on in centre midfield. And there is, I mean, Callum O'Dowda has, I mean, you've all seen that picture on Twitter where he is the only one in the frame. I think you can just see Melier in the corner. Yeah. Like, he's got 35 yards of space. And, well, in the ground, I put it on both because I looked straight at Nonto and he did look guilty as sin. And he was, like, what he did was wrong. But Ayling is the one that I expect to have better sort of awareness from that. If he just sees where the play's going and drops 5-6 yards at the start, it's probably fine.
I think if he stood still, it would have been fine. It's the last minute stepping up that really did it. Because he's the one that can see this ahead of him. Like, Nonto should be tracking him, but most of this is now going on behind him.
Yeah, he is sort of what he does, he half presses the man on the ball, even though there's already someone there to press the man on the ball. And because of that, O'Dowda's behind him. Now, his defensive awareness is his biggest weakness anyway. He is terrible for it. He loses his man constantly because he's basically just a forward. But as soon as he doesn't see him, he's never going to check his 6, as I would say.
No, and from there, it just unfolds to Pascal Struijk has no idea whether to go to the ball or to hold his position sort of level with the edge of the 6-yard box. And then just everything goes wrong. And then for some reason, Leo Hjelde is in the middle of goal and everything's just gone wrong.
Yeah, you see, in the ground, you couldn't, the actual sort of goal mouth scrambly bit, you couldn't really tell. I mean, I could tell that Josh Bowler had the first shot and it was a good block from Ampadu, and then Ugbo back to Bowler and he finished it fairly well. But, like, as for who should have been where in that bit, you couldn't tell in the ground. You could tell in the build-up, you couldn't really in that.
But, yeah, we just got pulled all over the place, and it was, and as we'll get onto with the second goal, just some level of discipline for positions was needed.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about the second goal because it basically follows on. I mean, it's just the world's most simple give and go, and Hjelde just gets done. Like, completely done. I still have big hopes for Leo Hjelde. I think he's a good player. I would still start him this weekend. I probably wouldn't against Shrewsbury because I'd probably give Byron the minutes for that. But he just gets completely done. And once he's in that position, he's knackered. He can't bring him down because I thought my real-time thing was this is going to be a penalty. And he managed to avoid the penalty.
He just dangles a leg out there, doesn't he? To give them that chance. But no. And again, once he's done, all of a sudden everyone's kind of having to shift across. I still...
This I have seen back. Ayling shifts across just basically away from his man and not onto a different man.
Yeah, like Strout goes across, so I appreciate that Ayling is left with 2 men at the back. I appreciate that, but Luke Ayling moves beyond both of them.
Yeah,
and they're both behind him. Then
that's the thing, that like, even if you've only played football up to like being 14, if you've got 2 men at the back post, you mark the one closer to goal.
Mark one of them.
Yeah, whoever's closer to goal is the one that is more likely to score. So that's who you mark. And then if it goes over your head, you can try and rush out to block. And if they then play it back inside, it's not your fault. You weren't covered.
But no.
Now, I think it is mostly on Hjelde, that one. Like, and in fairness, as much as I like him, he did have a pot. He was noticeably poor for that first half was Yelder. Gave the ball away more than most. And I think that all through pre-season he's done this cutting, dropping into midfield thing and inverting. And I don't think they've really pressured him on the ball when he's done that, so he's looked really good doing it. And I think Cardiff, one of the few, they did pressure him well and he looked a little bit panicked. But he'll get better at that as he gets used to it.
I think one of the things, and someone who's commented on here fairly frequently, I watched the game with Brad Carrott, and he said 3 out of these 4 defenders were in a team that for the last 2 years have conceded a ridiculous amount of goals.
Yeah.
And still
it's like 160-ish.
Yeah, they're lacking a lot of confidence, and I think as soon as that first one went in, I think it shook them a lot, because I know it's always a little bit dicey, because I think there was one of those balls over the top that Liam Cooper was watching back for Meslier, and you were just looking at it going, oh, thank God Mellier's cleared it. But Strout gets a little that way at the moment as well. I think they said on the square ball, like, it was quite nice to see Charlie Cresswell come on and just absolutely clatter through someone to win a header, and you were just like, right, that is what is needed right now. Is just, it might not be the prettiest defending, but just someone who is very confident in their ability to win that ball.
Some defending.
Yeah.
I did see quite a lot on Twitter after the game, people talking about the players being booed off at half-time. They weren't. They were booing the referee for not giving that penalty shout just on half-time, which looked like a pretty good shout from the ground. KC TV?
Probably not. I think it would have been softer. You see the arm go across sort of the back of Somerville, but it would have been soft. I think the frustrating part was because in the build that Somerville gets tripped, it then goes into Sinisterra in the area. He goes down. That's just if it's not a dive, it's as close as you're getting to one.
Yeah.
And then it comes back to Somerville, who I can't even say he got hold of the shirt. There was just sort of an arm across his lower back.
Right.
And he goes down. And again, watching it live, I shouted for that as well. But when you watch it back, it's like it probably should have been a free kick on the edge of the area for the first one. But yeah, I mean, coming out of it, I didn't think the referee. I thought the referee was fine.
Yeah,
I think ultimately, looking back at the things we appealed for, I think most of them he probably got right.
Yeah, there was a few things that like for instance, there's a big push on the let's try and stop the time wasting, and that appears to have happened in 45 out of 46 AFL games this weekend. I know that there was still plenty of time added on in ours, but not compared to the others. And Cardiff were time wasting from like the 5th minute. Like they probably should have been more than there was. On the subject of the defending that you were on about before, friend of the podcast, Ali, is messages. The way Cardiff parked the bus made it so hard to score. Shows how crap our defensives. If we parked the bus, we'd concede 8. And I think he's got a point, to be honest. So yeah, at half-time, everyone was fuming, but everyone in the ground around me was also sort of laughing. It was like, this is so Leeds. Like,
same shit, different year.
Yeah, that spinal tap line, the more things stay the same, the less it changes. So half-time, Byram on for Yelder, which I think was fair enough. At half-time, when I was talking to my dad in the ground, I said Cresswell for Yelder, Strout to left-back is what I thought he was going to do. So, but he just did a similar thing. And then, it was a couple of minutes into the second half, wasn't it? I don't know how far in it was. Like 4 minutes in.
Leeds have always been dead good at corners.
Yeah. Somerville takes a really good corner. Cooper attacks it brilliantly. Good goal. He's probably out for the season.
It didn't look good.
We'll take this in shifts. First part. Somerville's corner. Really good.
Yes, much better than Archie Gray's.
Archie Gray was on corners through pre-season and took nearly exclusively good ones. First league game of the season, took 3 or 4, all of them shite. The only one that you could say was passable was the deep one to the back post that Cooper headed back into Stroud. But I don't think it was meant to be that deep because Cooper had to go tear-arsing back to get to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just that thing that Leeds players can't take corners. Unless for Sam Greenwood, and even he's only like 50-50 with his being the best dead ball taker. But Cooper's header is a belting header.
Yeah, he gets the run on him, doesn't he? And just absolutely powers it in. And then you watch the replay of him landing and his leg just wobbling as he comes down, and it's horrendous.
Yeah, we're still not sure whether it's ankle or knee because they both seem to jar.
He seemed to be holding his knee while he was down, and I thought that's what it was as it came down, but Farker did seem to be talking about his ankle more.
I haven't actually heard Farker's post match, so.
And then obviously he tried to walk off and very quickly went, no, get the stretcher.
Yeah. Well, you would think that that puts paid to those Saudi rumours.
It's one way to do it.
Yep. It's a shame for him because, like, you never want to see him get injured. Obviously, he's been forever. But you mentioned Cresswell. He came on for Cooper. Stroud went to left centre back. He was very committed. He had a weird game. That's the way I'd phrase it, a weird game. Like, he didn't really have to do much defending, so you can't do that. He ran out with the ball loads, which I really like to see. But it did kind of look... Can you remember when we were just letting John Stones run 60 yards until he got into the dangerous area?
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that from Cardiff. They were just sort of letting him have it. But he did well with most of them. There was one where he got a bit greedy and tried to beat a man and just lost the ball immediately. And it could have been a dangerous counter-attack if Cardiff would have wanted to counter-attack. But I don't mind seeing him bring the ball out like that because, again, it's the sort of thing that he'll get better at if he keeps doing it. And if we end up playing against a lot of teams this season that sit on the edge of the box, you need that sort of thing. Puts an extra man in midfield, it gives you the ability to spread the play a bit. Basically, after Cooper's goal, it was the entirety of Leeds. I think Cardiff had one shot after we equalised that went over, and that was it.
Yeah, there was I think after we'd got the first one as well, there was again ball in behind that.
Oh yeah.
That again was can't remember if it was Ugbo, but
I think it was Ugbo, but I'm not 100%.
Skied it over.
Yeah, it like broke down in midfield, and there was one good first time pass in behind. Yeah, I remember that now. But yeah, Nonto got into the box, made a great run, beat about 4 players, denied by a really good save from Jack Hannick. I would have to see it back properly. It looked like he beat the last man, and that took him a bit too wide. And it looked like he may have had an angle to shoot without beating that man that would have probably been a better angle for the shot. But, like, that was unlucky. Hannick tips it into the ground, up onto the bar. Dan James has a good shot into the bottom left corner, which was a really good save from Hannick as well. Dan James has one disallowed for offside against Luke Ayling, which I haven't seen back, so I don't know how close it was. But no one who was in line with it was going mental in the stand. None of the Leeds players went mental, so I assume it was plenty off.
Yeah, Luke Ayling was a good couple of yards off,
and I think he was a good couple of yards off about 5 times.
That was just our fullbacks.
Well, I think Byram only did it once.
Does that make it more than one fullback?
Yeah, nearly all of them as well. The vast majority of them were in situations where there was no need to get caught offside. I actually think the worst one for that was Byram's because he wasn't even running in behind; he was standing, and he just had wandered offside and stood 2 yards offside and got the ball. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about Byram. I thought he was really good when he came on.
Yeah, very, very composed. I suppose, like I said, at that point, it was all us. So it would have been interesting to see how Hjelde would have done in that, because by that point they'd clearly made the decision: we do not need to go forward. You know, there will be one. I think they'd almost moved into a 4-4-1-1 at this point. obviously sitting really deep. And one of the other things was they were giving us so much space out wide because we didn't really have any sort of central threat.
I was gonna talk about this actual end of the game, but we'll do it now. Not a specific person. We missed having a 9 in this game because it wasn't just that they sat really deep. They were able to sit so narrow because they knew we weren't going to chuck crosses in. And it made it so much easier for them to defend. If we'd have had a 9, no matter which, if it was Bamford or Rutter or Mateo Joseph, if we would have had one and just been able to stick crosses into them, they would have had to be a bit wider to close the crosses. And when they then cut inside, the likes of Nonto and Sinistera, later Pervader, all that, would have had a bit more room. And it would have made things much easier. Even if it was like someone who, even if we'd have just brought on Sonny Perkins and said play up front, like I do think that it would have made the shape of the game easier.
Yeah, I think one of our problems as well was that you had, bearing in mind how Fark likes to play, where your wide players are coming inside. We had 4 right-footed players to come inside. And one, I don't think that is Dan James' strength, to be fair, is coming in off the left. But it is Nonto and Somerville's, and Sinistera's, certainly, is that. I thought Somerville probably looked at his best when he was playing down the middle.
Yeah, I know it's easy to say because he ended up with a goal and an assist, but when we were on about changes in the ground, I was saying the one you don't take off is Somerville. He looks the most likely.
Yeah, he was having some very good touches in and around the penalty area. I was a little bit surprised when it wasn't Sinistera coming off, to be honest, because I thought he'd gone a bit quiet. But yeah, it just, I know we have a lot of options there, and it will probably, in an ideal world, if you get Jack Harrison back, I think he's a more natural fit for that right-hand side. Or even Rutter. I think you've got someone who can play that right-hand side more naturally. And then you just need your number 9, because I think you've got Sinistera and Nonto whose strengths are very similar to each other's.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I do think I still think by September Nonto won't be here.
I think that as well, but whilst it's going on, it's probably just a little bit frustrating, because I think watching us try and rotate round and everyone seems to have a go at playing every position, and I don't think it did as many favours, to be honest.
No,
because I don't think that, because I think because of the position we were in as well, it's not as if we were dragging players out of position. Cardiff had kept to that very narrow, pretty much playing the width of the penalty area and letting us have the wider areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you say, if you have Bamford, who has a better chance of getting on the end of a cross than Nonto or Somerville or James, God, they're quite small. But yeah, I think we're just needing players back now to balance it out, because we do have these attacking wide players, but I think at the moment it kind of looks a little bit like square pegs in round holes.
Yeah. So later on, Pervader and Gelhardt come on for James and Nonto with like 10 minutes left. And then Sonny Perkins comes on for Archie Gray in the 93rd minute. I thought that Perkins was a bit unlucky not to get on earlier than that, because by this point, we didn't need more than just Ampadu in the middle. Like, you could easily just have one and then a line of 4.
Adam Clayton there just pinging the balls in.
Yeah, like, they'd given up by that point. Gelhardt didn't really do much when he came on. Perkins didn't get time to. But for a 15-minute cameo, I thought that Jan Pervader did about as much as you could hope for someone to do without getting the actual goal contribution.
Yeah, it was quite nice to see someone being direct, and again, it was typically cutting in once you're around the penalty area. One of the strengths I do think you get out of Luke Ayling still is his ability to go forward and be an option for the overlapping runs, and I think he linked up quite well, just stopping the Cardiff, the extra Cardiff defender from closing down Poveda to give him that extra half yard to move in.
I'll tell you what, it was noticeable, particularly first half, because Yelder was inverting. They were doubling up on Dan James every time he got the ball, whereas they couldn't do that on the other side because it was 2v2.
Yeah. But yeah, it was. I mean, Poveda. When you look at the options and when you think about who will probably be here come September, will probably be someone who features off the bench. I still think he needs to work on his end product, but it was nice seeing him beating men and getting into decent positions.
Yeah. Late on, I was there, it was like 94th, 95th minute. Sinistera, who had been quiet for a fair bit, cuts inside, has a shot from distance, which he's one of the players that you never mind doing that. Gets blocked, hits a different Cardiff player on the back, drops to Somerville. It's a bit behind him, it's in an awkward position, and the finish is absolutely outstanding. Like, it's really not an easy ball to hit that, and he's taking it first time, gives Anik no time to react. Great goal, Bedlam. Celebrated a bit too much because there was like 2 minutes left. If I'm being you should probably.
As part of you, like, just get the ball, go, come on.
Get the ball, show your intent. But like, I am still president of the Crisancio Somerville fan club, so I'm delighted for him to have this good a start. I'm still terrified Palace are going to buy him because I think it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, I think the more I watch him, and the only other time I'd really seen it was in the 21s, but I think he could this season become a really good number 10.
Yeah, because we don't have an actual 10, he is probably the most likely. I still think you could make Joffrey into that, but
yeah. I mean, I said before the game that I think I would have preferred Gelhardt, and I think it's because, again, I don't entirely see what it is Dan James brings to this team other than raw pace. Like, I know he will get shots away at times, but when you're looking at, like, I don't think he's anywhere near the quality in terms of end products compared to Sinistera, Somerville, or Nanto.
Yeah, and I suppose if you were playing against a team the ability of Cardiff, but they were playing with a high line, fair enough, Dan James. He can spread the play, make runs in behind for those crossfield balls that Cooper especially likes to hit. He don't do it as much as he used to, but those are there. When you're just parked on the edge of the 18-yard box, it is less likely to be Dan James that unlocks things.
Yeah. But again, that's still looking at those four. If even if you swapped Gelhardt for James, the more I look at it, the more I've sort of come to your way of thinking that he probably fits this team best coming in off the right. And still leaves you then asking who your striker is.
Yeah. That it needs addressing. We need a 9. We need a centre back. We may well still need a left back.
Probably a centre mid.
Definitely need a centre mid. Like, because that's one of the things that we will say. We'll talk about the couple of news bits in a sec. The only other thing that's really to talk about, we've talked a lot about the front, we've talked a lot about the back. Ampadu and Gray. I thought both were really good. I think there has been a slight overcorrection because of Gray being 17 and a Leeds lad. Like, I know he got man at match and everything. And he was really good, but Ampadu was really good in this game. He was the better of the two centre mids, I thought.
Yeah.
And that is not in any way a knock on Archie Gray. I'm so excited about Archie Gray.
Yeah, Ampadu just looked so accomplished, didn't he? And it was really nice having gone a year of us struggling to retain possession, just to see someone just be calm on the ball and like, no, I'm going to turn this guy, and then I'm going to clip the ball wide.
Yeah,
and then actually being able to do it.
There was a thing in the first half that I thought was interesting. Like, I fully expected Ampadu to be dropping in and be the first receiver off the centre backs, and for a lot of the first half, especially, it was Gray that was doing it. I think part of the reason might have been that Ampadu started slightly further forward so that he could be nearer Aaron Ramsey. Because even though his legs don't work, he's still technically very good.
Aaron Ramsey, who I completely forgot was playing by that second half.
Yep, when he got subbed off was when I remembered.
Yeah, which I don't know if that says a lot about him or just how far off Cardiff had dropped by that point. But no, I thought the midfield worked really well together. The sad part is I'm looking at Archie Gray thinking, God, it's a shame you got injured last year.
Yeah, if he wouldn't have got injured in pre-season, he definitely would have made his debut early last season.
Yeah,
because he was playing in pre-season.
Yeah, I think he'd have featured more than. I think he'd have done better than half the players that went out last year as well.
Yeah.
But again, considering debut at home, opening day, 17 years old, and he just strolled through it, really, didn't he?
Yeah, really good. And I think everyone's looking at him going, right, he could be the next one. And that's what
he's the next one to Aston Villa.
Oh God, that'd make me so sad if it was. Like, I can live with it if he has a breakout season, he's brilliant, and Man City pay like shitloads of money for him. If he goes to like a mid-table Premier League club, I'd be fuming.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh God. I'm gonna give him a passport after a year. So yeah, it sounds like Chelsea are stepping up their interest in Tyler Adams because he's got a release clause of about 20 million, which is around what we've heard. I aren't sure whether they actually want him or if they're just doing it to try and get Brighton to sell Caicedo. But yeah, Brighton are doing the thing that they should do.
Brighton seems to be holding out for about 100 million for Caicedo.
It's 100 million. How about 70? It's 100 million. How about 80? It's 100 million. We're in Europe and not in debt. It's 100 million. That's how much it. I want Chelsea to offer 99.5 million and Brighton to tell them fuck off. No, it's 100 million. I mean, like, I'm sure that deal will happen eventually this summer. But if Tyler Adams goes to Chelsea, it's not like Adams is one of the few that came out with any credit last year. If he goes, he goes. He doesn't appear to be kicking up a fuss and demanding to leave.
He seems to be tutoring Archie Gray through the game.
Yeah, which was nice to see. Like, it shows that I am very confident in saying that Tyler Adams does care, and even if he leaves, like if Chelsea come in for him and they trigger his release clause and he goes, that's fair enough. Really, I won't have any bad. Other than, I wish you hadn't got injured and that red card you got at Spurs was stupid. Other than that, I haven't really got a bad word to say about Tyler Adams. I don't think losing Adams will be the difference between us getting promoted or not getting promoted this year. You'd rather have him, but if you don't, you can get a different centre mid. It's going to be other positions that make the difference on that.
No, and he's also probably going to be one of the few players that actually brings us some cash.
Yeah,
which I think we need. And I think if you sold him, you could get 2 or 3 key positions sorted with that.
Yeah. Well, and that's really what you've got to do, isn't it? I mean, like, that's what you would assume Southampton are doing. I've had a couple go. Livermento's gone this morning, and I know that it's 40 million and Chelsea get like 15 of it. But still, that's a lot of money in the Championship.
That's good money. The money they're probably getting, because they just rejected 45 for Lavia as well.
Well, that's another one that they're doing. It's the exact same. It's 60 million. How about 30, 60, 40, 60? And this time it's Liverpool, but they'll pay it because Liverpool lost 5 senior central midfielders this summer. They're going to pay it eventually. And if they sell him, Ward-Prowse is not pushing for a move. He'll go if they accept a bid, but I think they'll probably end up being able to keep Ward-Prowse.
But if you sell those two, you are then under no pressure to sell someone like him.
You will have to buy 2 central midfielders, but
yeah. But I mean, for the money you're getting in, you are in the Championship. You probably only need to spend a third of that if you want, to get 2 good players.
Which is why I want Leeds to. If Leeds are doing it, it's why I want us to move quick, because otherwise, the best one we can get is going to go to Southampton or Leicester.
I think that's why it's a shame that that for us that we've ended up with these players going back out on loan, because I'm not saying we're not going to get the sorts of fees that Livramento and Levy are going to get, but if you got 10 to 15 million on Christensen and Aronson,
even if it was like 7 or 8 for, like, we paid 12 for Christensen. If you got 7 back,
Llorente, get a fee on Llorente.
But we've gone over that plenty. We probably will on the first podcast after the transfer window shuts as well. But yeah, so obviously there's no way you can look at that game and not call it 2 points dropped. Something that did just bump into my head, even though it was not his fault. That run of Meslier shots on target going in. They had two goals. Neither of them were actually Mellier's fault, but
no.
That carries on. It's definitely 2 points dropped, but I do think that equaliser makes a huge difference. Because I just think if we'd have lost our opening game after everything, I think you would have seen, as ridiculous as it sounds, quite the spiral of negativity. And although people are annoyed that we didn't win, it's not been like that. Mostly, I've seen people being relatively positive about the game.
Yeah, I think for the most part, you'd have to say it was nice to see us. Nice to see us attacking and being confident in possession. I thought we retained possession really well for the most part, which again we haven't had for a year. Obviously, there are going to be tougher tests, but it's still very hard to tell when you're looking at this. Really not helped by the Cooper injury as well.
Yeah.
But
which, as far as I'm aware, there is still no news of.
Yeah, we're still, we're still a ways off knowing what this team is going to be in 3-4 weeks' time. But as a blueprint of how we are going to play, I'd have to say I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah. So I get no one got any points for predictions because everyone said we'd win. On to Wednesday, which is this will barely be a preview because, look, let's be honest, we don't know about Shrewsbury.
It's got a lovely grammar school
there.
Who's the first player in their squad list that comes up on Google?
I don't know, but I know they signed Noah Kenner the other day.
It is him.
Yeah, that'll be why, because he'll have been Googled a lot recently because they've just signed him. And so that was the only thing that I knew off the top of my head. I've just had a look at their transfers this season. They have brought Carl Winchester back from Sunderland, and he's a pretty good player. And I know they lost Matthew Pennington in the summer to Blackpool, who somehow has managed to move slightly up, you would say. But that's basically all I know. If I haven't looked at their squad properly, they played a 3-5-2 in a 1-0 win over Cheltenham at the weekend. Noah Kenny played in the middle of midfield. By the looks of Winchester being on the right, I'm going to guess this was more 5-3-2 with wingbacks because he played out there a lot. But no, I don't know anything about him really. Tom Bayliss in middle of midfield. The few times I've seen him, he looks pretty decent.
There are names of players that I know, like obviously Bayliss is one of them. Che Dunkley's another.
Oh, we got Shade on as well.
Yeah, but yeah, I can't say I know a whole lot because I'm still a Pamford Premier League fan, really, and I haven't kept up with Shrewsbury for some reason.
Yeah. The main thing for us to talk about with this is what sort of team do you reckon we'll put out? I assume Darlow in goal.
Yeah, I think they'll probably have to be a couple of changes. Although I don't think you can. I think with the injuries and stuff, I don't think there's a whole lot you can change. But I'd still expect it to be 4, 5.
Well, if we sort of try and go through it, Darlow in goal. Drama's injured, so it could be Erling. Do you think he might play Shackleton right back?
You probably know better than me. Has Shackleton been playing at right back in pre-season when he's come on, or has he been centre mid?
He played some games in centre mid. He played some games at right back. If he started, it was in centre mid. If he came off the bench, it was quite often at right back.
Yeah, I think he'll probably go. I think he'll probably go with Ayling to start.
Ayling, because he'll be captain as well, won't he?
Yeah, and then Cresswell, Strauch, Byron.
Yeah, you want because it's probably going to be Cresswell and Strauch at the weekend, and they will have. Well, I was about to say they haven't played together, but they will have done, just not for the first team.
Yeah,
but still, you probably want them to get some experience playing together. You maybe take Strauch off at half time, probably for Yelder to play left centre back.
Yeah, and then
Byron left back. Midfield, you don't. Gray's 17. You don't want him starting 3 games in a week.
Probably Ampadu and JB.
Yeah, Ampadu and JB, and Ampadu goes off if we're winning well, goes off at half time. If not the hour mark.
Yeah,
I would be fine because I do not give any kind of shit about the League Cup this season. I mean, I'm off to the game and everything. If they play JB and Lewis Bay, I'm absolutely fine with that. Or they might, if Ayling starts, they might play Shackleton in middle midfield because it's then slightly more experienced. But I think JB will start for certain.
And then I think you're probably looking at
all the strikers are still injured. I wonder if he might have a look at Perkins. Because it's so weird to me. It's so weird to me that he did not play in pre-season at all, but did play in the under-21 friendlies.
Yeah, I'd be interested because I think coming out of that game, if as we've spoken about, I think this would be the perfect time to try someone out as the out-and-out striker. And I think this would be a decent test for Perkins as well.
Yeah, I would quite like, even though Perkins, he's another one who I don't think his best position is 9, but he doesn't like chasing back. And he can play at the 9, so I'd probably go for it. Ali's saying, do we want to risk our first team centre backs? He'd go with Mullen and Strauch. I wouldn't rule it out.
I wouldn't be entirely against Mullen certainly getting minutes in this.
Yeah. But I'd quite like us to start a little bit stronger than that and then take people off.
Yeah.
But like you could do, he's also said JB and Bate, which I am absolutely fine with.
And again, the other way you could look at it, the other way you could move it is if Shackleton came on and move Ayling into the middle.
Yeah. So we're thinking it'd be a good idea to play Perkins at 9. You don't want to play Sinisterra 3 times in a week.
No,
You want Gellart probably as the.
You'd probably get Gellhart, Somerville.
Oh no, actually, I'll tell you what, Gellart off the right, play Paveda at 10 based on pre-season.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gellart will start. Paveda will start.
Yeah, I could see Somerville starting this one, and then, like you say, Perkins or outside chance Mateo Joseph.
Joseph won't be fit. Joseph's not fit for that.
Oh, he's injured, isn't he? Sorry,
yeah. Otherwise, I'd be saying that's who plays at front. But yeah, because our squad isn't that big, there is going to have to be some of them. Like we can't make full changes. But I think that the ones that start just won't play the full game. We obviously Leeds' first under-21 game is this Friday, so we've no to go off in terms of that form. Like, I think Mullen gets on the bench. We could have been out. I wouldn't mind seeing Charlie Crew on the bench based on the brief bits that we saw in the 21s once he stepped up. But I think that's probably about it, because there isn't really any, like, I mean, it was going to be the striker now. Mateo just stepped up a bit. Luca Thomas probably. Like,
yeah,
it's too soon to tell with any of them. I definitely wouldn't place. I wouldn't place Sinistera at all in this game. I probably wouldn't even have him on bench. I'd just go, like, you have a rest, because we know what your fitness is like. Somerville I wouldn't start, but I would have him on the bench, because if he has to come on and play 20, 30 minutes, I think that's fine. But yeah, we'll see how many move about. But I think, like, Perkins, Paveda, and Gellart, that's a bad sign. I think they should all start. But we have predictions sent in from Connie and Alex. Connie has a 3-0 win. Alex has a 3-1 win. I am going to go for a 2-0 win.
I'm going to go for a 4-1 win.
4-1 win. And in our preseason predictions, as expected, 5 points for everyone who isn't Alex Benison, because Archie Gray was the first as he started.
Yeah.
Although, like, he did say Perkins, and he did end up playing. It was the same game. It was just 90 minutes later.
Yes.
Yeah. Ali in the comments just there saying 2-1, and got one, and we've got a 2-0 win in there as well. So yeah, everyone's pretty confident we'll win. We should win, but like, yeah, just rotate, get through the game. Look forward to Birmingham in it next weekend.
It's going to be exciting. To be honest, I'm quite looking forward to it. There's something I quite like about the first round of the League Cup, where you're just watching a group of players play with a fair bit of freedom.
Can you remember that weird one about 4 or 5 years ago where they did it? Didn't they do it on a weekend the week before the season started?
That's a fair while ago now, isn't it? I think, to be honest, you're saying that might be when Warnock was in charge.
Also, when I say 5 years ago, it might be 10.
Yeah, they did try it out. I don't even know if it went longer than 1 year, but yeah, the season kicked off with the League Cup first round.
Yeah, it was a weird one.
Yeah, I think Peltz leading us out.
So
that might have been Juve's debut.
Yeah, I guess the final question before we go: has the Cardiff game changed anything about your confidence levels?
No, I'm still going to win the league. I'm going to piss it.
Go HMS, etc. No, I still think in the playoffs, but we'll see where we are. As I say, we'll talk about that properly in September, I think. So yeah, that will do us for episode 225 at Mighty White's podcast. I've been Jack. See you.
I'm in KC. Have a good one.